And we're back. This is the Colombia Calling podcast. I'm Richard McColl in rainy Bogotá. My very special guest this week is Andrea Gonzalez Duarte van der Leeuw, and she's in Medellin. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, for those of you maybe who don't get my Dutch accent, you'll have noticed that the first part of her name, Andrea Gonzalez Duarte, Colombian, Hispanic name, and then van der Leeuw, Dutch name.
Yes.
Andrea has an amazing story and is doing incredible work in various parts of Colombia. She has a foundation, Mi Barrio Mi Sueno. So my neighborhood, my dream, I guess is how we translate. Andrea, we have to start from the very beginning because it's not as if you ended up in Colombia. There is I would say it's a natural, you know how rivers return to their natural state and their natural direction and flow. This is how I liken it a bit to you. Now, you were given up for adoption.
Yeah.
And then you were adopted by a family in Holland. So perhaps we can start there. Because this whole story brings you all the way back in a complete circle to Colombia, and it's quite heartwarming, really. So tell us what you want to tell us about your upbringing.
Okay, well, I am born in Bogotá during the late 80s, and my mom put me up for adoption, and then I was adopted to the Netherlands. I grew up in Friesland. That's more. Nobody knows that. It's very the countryside. We have a lot of farmers there. It's nothing compared to Amsterdam or anything. So yeah, there I grew up. I was basically the only colored kid in the whole town. So that was something. But for the rest, I think I had a pretty good childhood. Yeah, everything was very easy there. Life was very slow because it had a different vibe than now I'm living here in Medellin. So Medellin is like city life, has a different energy. I think comparing to that is like totally different. However, when I had the chance to leave that place, when I studied, I left right away. Yeah, I like that easygoing and all that kind of stuff, but I need to be honest, it was not for me.
Right.
It was too small. I wanted to discover the world. Could not really identify with the people who were there, like even like in how they looked, but also the way of thinking. So then I studied to Groningen, to university there, and that was already better. It was I did social work there. Really liked my time there, and then I started traveling after my studies. And then I think I was 24, I guess. I'm not sure anymore. And then I moved to Curaçao. Was one of the Dutch islands. I met there my boyfriend. He lived already there. He's Dutch, but he was working there. And then we lived together there for 2.5 years. And that was closer to Colombia, so we could visit Colombia way more easier. What was amazing. And then one time we went to Medellin, and that was for me like, wow, this is nice. Don't get me wrong, like Bogotá, I love it. I'm coming from there, but the temperature, it doesn't do it for me. Sorry, it doesn't do it for me.
That's okay.
So when I came here in Medellin, it had the city vibes. It had a very international community also, but also I don't know. I like the energy here in Medellin. The people are nice, and that's why we decided to move to Colombia.
Right. Well, there's a lot there in that introduction, and I think I feel I need to explore right from the very beginning, because I do get a lot of emails from Colombians adopted overseas, perhaps who were adopted through less than legal means, and those who are adopted legally elsewhere and so on, but they want to find their roots. Some of them are not certain whether they want to meet their birth parents or not, or they just want to see the country of their birth, because of course there's this overwhelming, overriding question of identity. Like you said, you were in Friesenberg, I want to say
Friesland.
Friesland. All I can imagine is just pastures and pastures and cows.
Yeah.
That's what I'm imagining there, you know.
Yeah.
And so, as you said, you are the only person of color, the only sort of in this area. So you knew from a very young age that you had been adopted.
Yeah.
And that this was not your, you know, original home. And there must have been all sorts of questions. But can we start from the beginning? Do we know why you were put up for adoption right from the beginning?
Yeah. So my mom, she had 4 other children, and she was in an abusive relationship. So at a certain moment, I was already in her belly, like she was pregnant from me. Yeah, right. And then she made the decision to leave that situation. So literally she packed all her stuff and left that traumatic situation behind. But then no education, no formal job, 4 kids alive, 1 on the way. What do you do? So there were complications during when she was pregnant of me, and then she went to the doctor, and then the doctor said like, hey, maybe future do you want for your own child? And then the idea of adoption came in her head. Of course she didn't want that. She was looking for other ways. She reached out to family, to friends, but it was impossible for her. So that was the reason that she was thinking, okay, I do not have any other options, and I do want to have a different life for this child. I do not want that she or he is going through the same situation. And that's basically what she made the brave decision.
Wow. And you mentioned you have 4 siblings. Do you know them?
Yeah. Wow. So when I was 19, I did my roots journey. I'm not sure if it's the same translation in English, but so I went back to my roots. I found my mom and my brothers and my sister.
And how was that?
A roller coaster. It was like I cannot describe that. I was 19, so I was pretty young. I think it was a good age to do it. For me, I went with my adoptive parents, so I was with them because I found it very important that they also was a process of that. You know, they are part of my life, they're part of my story, so I really want to bring them along. It was just crazy because, as I told you, like we come from the countryside. I grew up in the countryside, and we are very like. We are not hugging each other that much. We don't have that beautiful language. Hola, mi reina, mi corazón, mi vida. We don't have that. So when I saw my mom for the first time, she was all over me, emotional, saying all those words. I didn't speak any Spanish at that time. So the translator was telling me all those things. I was more like, wow, it was so much for me, because what I'm saying, I never had that how do you say that cariño, that how they express themselves. That is 180% different than how I was brought up. So it was I cannot really say it was this or that. It was like 10,000 emotions in 1 second.
I can only, this whole again very hugs and kisses and the again expressive nature. Okay, everyone always says the English are cold, or maybe the Dutch are cold, or whatever. There's just a different way of behaving. It's just a different way. It's like there's just and I don't know how you could possibly kind of accommodate that, because suddenly there's no personal space. Everything you do, think, wear, eat, space, how you look is in the public domain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how did you feel? I mean, I guess because I'm imagining you know, your brothers, your mother come from like a working class background in Bogota. So whereabouts did you meet them?
We meet them at our place. So we had like an Airbnb kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we invited them first there because we didn't want to meet in a restaurant or anything because it's very emotional, a lot of things going on. You also do not know how it goes.
Yeah.
Maybe you feel super awkward, or I don't know, nobody knows. So I think a private space is good. And also we had like the translator translating everything for us. So with also I didn't want to have other people around
Yeah.
also. It was
Of
my
course.
moment, very important. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so where she's from, a far off barrio of Bogota.
Yeah, yeah. She now they living in Santa Librada. It's very.
Very
It's like
far.
an barrio.
Yeah. And one thing that always it would be very interesting to me, as a, you know, observer, is how is the relationship between your birth mother and then your Dutch parents? How did they react?
Yeah, very respectful. Very
Yeah.
respectful. They hugged each other. They were like, "Thank you for everything you did to raise her in the way she is." They were like super proud of me. So yeah, I think they have sometimes contact still, like
Oh yeah.
yeah, on WhatsApp. Now everything is easier. Like, I mean, when I was 19, that's also like 13 years ago. So
Yeah.
uh, we didn't have all this WhatsApp and all that kind of stuff. So, but they were emailing to each other. And always a lot of respect there. So not any jealousy or anything. Of course, when all that happened, I traveled with my adoptive parents like 1 or 2 days out to get a break. Um, and then we had good discussions like, okay, what's that for you? Did my role change in your life? All those kind of things. And we oh, even if the Dutch people or like the European were more like cold, we are very open. So we speak a lot about how we feel, what that does to me, how I see that as an individual. So yeah, we had very good conversations about that.
It's just you know, a very emotional and dramatic story. It's very intense, that
Yeah,
kind of thing. And obviously you had a, from what I can tell, you know, a wonderful, loving family in Holland. So
yeah,
yeah, there are the stories that are not as nice as yours as
yeah.
well.
I
uh,
know.
uh, and do you still have contact then with your brothers?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they visit in my house, or even my niece was here because he was traveling. She said, "Tia, can I stay with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So
Nice.
we are, yeah, it's good. Yeah,
Nice. Nice. And did you have siblings in Holland as well, or you were the...
yeah, yeah.
So
Two
you've got two
brothers.
worlds.
Yeah, I have like a whole big family. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's a really, I mean, this is a very, very upbeat story. I mean, very, again, as I say, complex for you,
mhm, yeah,
uh, indeed, and of course for your parents, but on both sides, because you have two sets of parents.
yeah.
Uh, have you? I have to ask, have you met your birth father?
No, no.
Ah,
I am still like debating with myself if I want that. I know the situation why my mom left, of the abuse and everything. So I'm like, do I want that for me? Is that adding something to my story? Is that something I want? I'm not sure. It's still
no.
like in my head somewhere, and I need to think about it.
That's, you know, I again, I'm neither here nor there. That was just me being a nosy journalist. But so I think there's a lot to say, because you went through all of this. You studied social work in Groningen University, and so
Yeah,
your life channeled itself
yeah,
towards this return, and you set up Mi Barrio Mi Sueño. It's to help people, obviously, in less fortunate situations. So you have carried some of this with you all of your life. There is a complete recognition of the life that you were, afforded in Holland, and you're bringing your knowledge now back to the country of your birth. It's kind of incredible. How did it come about? You have to tell us. It's like, what was your, thunderbolt moment that said, I've got to stay here and help?
I think everything happens for a reason, and with me, my whole story, it's flowing, it's going, and it all went very natural. Like when we were living on Curaçao, we at a certain moment we had the feeling, okay, we want to move from here, but we don't know exactly where we want to go, and that's why Medellin came. When we were on holiday, we were like, oh, this is amazing. So let's go here. Okay, let's do it. Because we didn't want to go back to the Netherlands. We were like, okay, that's not for us right now. What do we want? And then I was like, okay, yeah, I also want to discover my culture, where I come from, speak the language and everything. So that's how we came here. And that was not directly that I thought like, oh, I'm going to start a foundation or anything. No. I started working just in a normal business, a language school. And then I started a social enterprise called Volunteers in Colombia. And that was to connect international volunteers with smaller local NGOs. Because, of course, that social work is in me. I wanted to do, then the idea came like, I wanted to do something back. But I'm not sure how. And then through that work of the language school, I saw a lot of people want to give back, but could not find the right NGO. So that's basically where I created the bridge. And then we came in a pandemic. Well, you were here also.
Yeah.
And that was something. And when we, in the second week when we were still in the pandemic, it was crazy here. People reached out to me, hey, Andrea, can you do something? Because I was working with a lot of NGOs. And they were like, Andrea, please, can you help us? Can you do something? And then I felt very connected with, I need to do something back. I am now in a position to put in my network into work, to have a bigger reach. So then I was like, I cannot sit just here in my apartment, do nothing and wait it out. No, that was like a no-brainer for me. So I started to collect food packages and give that to different neighborhoods here in Medellin.
Yeah, because right at the very beginning, when we didn't know what was going on and we were all being locked into our houses, and then of course, the people who are out, who have to walk the streets to earn money, are not earning money, and they're not being able to get any food. So you were making these food packages, and so that's became the formalization of your foundation, really.
Yeah. After that, give me 1 second.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I started to collect all the food packages and hand it out to different neighborhoods here in Medellin. I created a map on Google because there were a lot of people who wanted to give back, and I was very happy with that. A lot of experts, a lot of nomads, a lot of people. They were like, okay, let's do something. The only problem was that there was no organization in it. Right. So I created Google Maps that everybody could pin in which neighborhood they went, so that we knew that not one neighborhood is getting a lot of help and the other one not. So I tried to start to do that, share it with everyone I knew who was giving food packs or everything. And then I came in the neighborhood La Honda. It's an how do you say, innovation? Yeah. And then I met Diego Beltran, and he has also another organization called Boxeo para la Vida, and he was helping me with handing out the food packages, and we start talking. I start talking also to the women and children there. And at that moment, next to the pandemic, also a lot of cases of abuse raised, especially in those neighborhoods. People were frustrated; they would not know what was going on. They cope sometimes with taking drugs and alcohol, and the situation in the homes was not very bad. Let's keep it there. And that hit me, of course, because of my history. I know what my mom has been through, all of that abuse, and unfortunately for the pandemic, it was already there, but we heard so many horror stories that I was like, okay, I cannot let this just be and happen and just hand out food packages. I need to do something more sustainable. What I'm saying is that whole situation, what happened with my mom, that was so impactful on my life. That was the reason I'm adopted. So now I'm back and I'm like hearing this again, like 30 years later, and I'm like, wow, you know, it really, yeah, I felt it. I felt it in my heart. I was like, okay, I need to do something, and I'm in the position to do something. So then Diego came on my butt saying that he has a boxing school. I was like, okay, this is it. We're gonna do this. We're gonna start a women empowerment project called Barrio Boxing, was for specially designed for women. We give them boxing classes and social emotional skill training to empower them through the body and mind to be more resilient against this abuse. And that's basically the first project the foundation got. And since then, we already grown with 3 other projects. Yeah, so here we are.
Yeah, and I mean, you're legally constituted in both Colombia and in Holland, so
Yeah,
this is a big
so
deal.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
receive money, everyone. You can send money.
yeah. Yeah. So we are officially in the Netherlands, and all our projects are here in Colombia.
So the boxing classes, these were given to women,
yeah,
to defend themselves.
It goes more ways. When I was in my teenage years, of course, like a lot of emotions were in my body and a lot of things happening there. And I always found my resources through sports. I did a lot of dance and gymnastics, so I knew how sports can benefit your body. And then Diego had this boxing school already. And boxing also shows a very good research on trauma relief to get that energy that is in your body out in a healthy way. It also shows that it gives you more confidence in your body. So it's not directly on defending yourself. Yes, of course, it is a tool, but also to get trust in your body again, to understand what your body is capable of, but also your mind. Especially in the beginning with the children or with the women, you were like, okay, do punches on the back. But if you have a history of abuse or like domestic or whatever, then and you need to punch the back, it's the traumas in your body, so it comes out, and that is difficult sometimes for them to do those kind of things. And we're like, you can do it, go for it, like you know. So that really helps with releasing that negative energy.
Did you, in this process, you were there accompanying these classes, did you witness some of the women really, you know, releasing the trauma? Were there screams and tears and shouts? Was it really quite impacting?
In the beginning, they felt very uncomfortable to do some kind of stuff, and it was laughing and, you know, like laughing away and like that. But we really tried. We are now in the 3rd year of the body boxing program, and we really tried to push it. So sometimes they hit them like, I think you can hit harder. So, and then we try to really go there. So now sometimes I see that anger. I see sometimes they need to go out, get a breather, and it's like there's a lot of things coming loose. So yeah, we see that, and I think it's a good thing. I really think look for your limits and discover them, and next time you can have like your boundaries a little bit more further, and you're more empowered, and you know what you can. And what we also see, what I'm super proud of, is that, for example, now I say, okay, 10 push-ups. I do not give the class. Like Diego and Veronica, they are giving the class, but I'm always there. So, and then I said, okay, 10 push-ups. They're like, okay, easy. In the beginning, when we said that, it was like, damn, I cannot do that. You know, like that. So their mind changed. Yeah.
But it's about knowing your body, isn't it? It's about that again, and the mind and the body coordination, and this all helps, and it empties one side of the brain for another side of the brain. I know. And so tell us about some of the other projects. You said you have 3 projects now. So you've got the boxing
Yes.
one. What else have we got?
So in the foundation, the Barrio Mi Sueno, we focus on 3 themes: gender equality, and under gender equality, we have our Barrio boxing program. Then we have quality education, and we provide English classes. English classes are for boys and girls because I think that uh, in education everybody should have access. So we do not want to like exclude one and another. So that's for everyone. And we have also now a new project called Madres del Barrio, and what we are teaching them is a skill to make jewelry. So they make wristbands, earrings, necklaces, and now we are in the first month of the Madres de Barrio project, but soon we're gonna sell those jewelry. A part is going to the women directly, and the other part of the proceeds is going to sustain the project.
Yeah.
And in that program, they also get vocational training. So, yeah, at a certain moment, we hope they can start their own businesses, provide financially support for their families.
And this is all in La Una, this barrio?
La Honda, yeah, yeah,
La Honda.
yeah, La Honda.
La Honda. Where is that in Medellin?
It's in Manrique, Comuna
Okay.
3. Yeah.
Manrique.
So,
Okay.
and we are the up on the mountain. You cannot
Yep.
even go higher.
Yeah. How far are you from a teleférico, what they call the Metrocable?
We don't have one.
Not yet.
That's in the other neighborhood.
Okay. That's San Javier and all those other places. But okay, so yeah, so it's obviously one of the overlooked comunas. It's up there on the mountain. And is it one of those that goes up the mountain and then over the other side?
No, that's almost. I give it like some years and then we are over the mountain, but no, we're still facing major.
Because it's, Medellin, it just feels that there's nowhere left for the city to go. It's grown so much.
Yeah.
That now we see these people living on, these houses that just grip somehow on the edge of the hillsides.
Yeah.
Did you last week? Well, I don't know. Last week we had the tremor, the 5.9 tremor. Did you feel it?
Yes, in the middle of night. That was what's going on.
4:19 in the morning. How you see, here on floor 7 of my apartment building, I felt very much at the mercy of nature. I don't even want to know what someone who's living underneath plastic and branches and corrugated iron rooftops on the edge of a mountainside is feeling. I don't even want to know.
No, yeah, they said they felt it. Luckily, there were no like houses going down or anything. Like last year, there was a mudslide and there were 4 houses down. So nobody died in that accident, but the problem is it's an informal neighborhood, so they build their houses. They do not own that land, and but they bought it from the guy who was in charge of the neighborhood. So all their investment in that land, then it's lost, and they're living under the minimum wage. They do not get a lot of money, and then that happened, and that was horrible. Yeah.
And so, in these barrios in this barrio La Honda where you work, are a lot of the people displaced from other parts of Colombia?
Yeah, 90% of the neighborhood is displaced.
Yeah.
So we have indigenous reserve there, and that is for the indigenous that come out different parts of Colombia. We have the last years, of course, more Venezuelans in the neighborhood, people from Choco. For example, Veronica, one of my boxing teachers, she comes from Batulia. It's a small village here in Antioquia. And during when she was 12, I'm not sure who knocked on her door, but there were people who knocking on the door, and they said like, you have 1 hour, and then they moved with the whole village out of there, and then they come in these kind of neighborhoods. So yeah, that's what I'm saying, even the people who I work with, who work in the foundation, they are also displaced. Yeah.
So imagine if you have indigenous, the indigenous people, Emberas, are probably displaced a lot from Choco and Antioquia.
Yeah, but also from
Putumayo.
Putumayo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And then Venezuelans, obviously, yeah, we know, and Choco. I assume people come down from Urabá, that kind of area, and so on, because it's still going on. All of these things we talk about, how the kind of Medellin miracle or the Bogotá or the Colombia miracle. It's the reality is these things continue today, and projects such as yourself have to work in these areas because you get there more than the state does. That's the truth of it. You have more of a, I suppose, representation and more respect in the barrio than a lot of state entities. Don't say anything because you don't get yourself in trouble. I can say it.
Okay.
But it must be a very heart-wrenching experience to see new families arriving, young kids in this situation. So incredible work that you're doing, gender equality, education, and this Madres del Barrio. What exactly are you doing with Madres del Barrio in this project?
Yeah, so the idea came with a friend of mine because the Barrio Boxing project is amazing. We see so much change. We see so much positive change. The women build community in the neighborhood. What's very important because sometimes the moms became a mom very young, so they stay at their house. The boyfriend is working, so they are very isolated. And people from Venezuela, especially, the mom is just in the house, feels a little bit scared. Sometimes the situation in that house is not ideally, but they do not know where to go. So one of the most positive things that Barrio Boxing created was community among the women, that there was trust, that they have like a social network to fall back on. Next to that, they found their voice, that they know what their rights are. So Luz, she is one of our participants, and at a certain moment, I had the idea to make wristbands. And then a friend of mine, she said, "Oh, I want to also start a new business with jewelry and selling that, but I also want that it's making a positive impact." Her name's Annelie. She's also from the Netherlands, and then we had it. I said, like, "Hey, I have amazing women here and mothers here in the foundation. Maybe we can construct something together." And with Luz, I asked Luz, like, "I think you do an amazing job. Do you want to be head of that project? Do you feel comfortable with it?" She said, "Yes, Prof, I definitely want to do this." So that's why I'm saying we really work with the people out of the neighborhoods, because it's their project. I am there just to help and to supervise and to construct the idea, but at the end of the day, it should be their project.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry. It sounds to me, what I'm seeing as a common thread, not just your background, of course, but a common thread is creating community.
Yeah.
And creating a certain degree of, I would say, as they say in Spanish, apropiación. You know, these people, they live here, and it's not just about surviving. It's about living and making a life. And I see something else. How connected are you to the Dutch community here in Colombia? Because it's a big community, you know.
I know. I'm pretty well connected with the Dutch community. I host events for them, like on the 24th of March, we have like an event again. When we just came here, we hosted King's Day. So I am pretty, like, I love it because there are like different kind of Dutch people traveling. So, and of course, it's also nice to share the struggles when you're in a different country.
No, I'm thinking more about this because there's quite a high echelon of Dutch community here in Bogotá, very politically affiliated. And I think the ambassador has changed, but he used to be about 8 feet tall. A really
Yeah.
nice guy. He was so tall.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I knew him. Yeah.
Yeah. It's changed. He's changed now, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. There is someone else. Yeah.
Okay. But I was just thinking about that. And now you talk about travelers and so on, and you talk about this. I think this is the key thing here now. We need to promote your what you're doing. So people can go to the website and make an application, and it's volunteersincolombia.com.
Exactly. Yeah.
Volunteersincolombia.com. But of course, you do need to be checked out because you're going to be working probably with children and in barrios. So you do need a police report and everything else to ensure that you are the kind of person needed. But and then you can do you have to donate to volunteer?
To donate to volunteer in the foundation?
Do people have to pay to volunteer?
Well, there are two different things. Like, I started as a social enterprise to connect that bridge. So the Barrio Mi Sueno Foundation, what I lead, is a pretty small foundation. So we do not have a lot of options for people to exactly volunteer in the field. We have these English classes that are run by volunteers. But for the rest, I try to work as local as possible because also I want to create jobs. If they want to directly volunteer in the foundation, that is possible, but it's more online and do grant writing and all that kind of stuff. But if they want to volunteer in one of our partner organizations, then we provide a service that we connect the right people to the right organization, and there's an administration fee we ask for. Yeah.
Well, that's nothing. I mean, an administration fee is a screening process, and it's again, it's your time as well. And
exactly.
Where can people donate, Andrea?
Yes, so they can go to the website volunteersincolombia.com. Then we have a beautiful button that says donate, and then they can donate with different kind of ways.
Okay.
With different kind of PayPal and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And they can choose where the money goes, or it just goes to a central fund. They can say, I wanted to go to the boxing, or I wanted to go to the Madres del Barrio, or
that is central, but we do have a GoFundMe right now going on because we just started with our Madres del Barrio project, and we need start capital to make this to a success. Okay. So we also have a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe called One Bracelet at a Time, and they can donate whatever they want, of course. But if you donate more than 12 euros or US dollars, you also get one of our bracelets that is made one of the moms as a thank you.
I think that's very nice indeed. 12 euros. That's nothing. How much does a Starbucks cost in Holland?
The Starbucks in Holland, I have no idea. I think almost the same. Like, really, it's almost the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So just, don't have a Starbucks for a day and donate 12 euros or $12 or whatever. I think we've got to support these things. We've got to do this. And I think your story is so very incredible that it comes in this full circle, not to Bogotá, but it comes in a full circle to Colombia. And I just take this moment to say thank you so much for your time and for sharing. I mean, it's quite an emotional story. It's not everyone wants to share that story, share what happened, but it is entirely, it's imperative to how you've developed as a person and how you've ended up here in Medellin. I mean, that's the truth of it. And so the story is fundamental.
I do think that everybody has a story, like also what you are doing. You show the world about different things, and everybody has their own purpose, and together, like how we come here right now, we can make a beautiful impact. We can reach a different audience. You are showing what's happening here in Colombia, so I think that's also amazing.
Well, thank you. I'm going to make sure that this podcast gets there to some of my contacts in the Dutch community here. So there we go. Because you guys are there's a great solidarity between the Dutch. I don't know why, but you all feel very related, and that they know that you're from. I want to say it again, Friesen.
Friesland.
Friesland, that they know you're
Yeah.
from there. Again, it creates a whole different image. Imagine
Yeah.
this poor Bogotana growing up in Friesland. So it creates a different image. But listen, Andrea, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, of course, for the incredible work you're doing. Everyone, check out Mi Barrio Mi Sueno. That's on all social media outlets. But you can write at the website www.volunteerincolombia or volunteers.
Volunteersincolombia.com.
Volunteersincolombia.com. So check it out. Throw a couple of euros, dollars, pounds, yen, whatever. It's all accepted. So thank you for your time. And listen, maybe one day I'll send you a message if I'm in Medellin, and I'll come to La Onda.
You should. You're more than welcome. The children will love it. They're always super happy when somebody's coming there. And I would, with all the love, I would love to show you around there and to see what we are doing.
Thank you so much. Again, we've been talking to Andrea Gonzalez Duarte van der Leeuw, Mi Barrio Mi Sueno, volunteersincolombia.com. We've been talking about the projects that she's been helping, well, I would say administer, set up, fund, and so on there in La Onda, Barrio Comuna, as they call them, in Medellin. So thank you again to her for talking about her upbringing, how she came to be at this point in her life here in Medellin. We'll be going over now to some words from our sponsors here on the Colombia Calling podcast. But thank you again, everyone, for listening. Thank you to John Bryant, who gave me Andrea's name. And then I looked it up and said, there is a story to be told here. So, of course, you want to sponsor us. That's www.patreon.com/Colombia Calling. But without further ado, thank you for listening. And we'll be back next week. So bye-bye.